What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be talking about, well, not really talking about, but we're gonna be working on this white four-door Honda Civic that I started building the turbo kit for. Today we're gonna be really just wrapping it up. I need to modify one of the charge piping that I did because we put the front bumper on the car and it's touching right here. So when I made this pipe right here, I didn't have a bumper, but I thought I made it close enough to it, but obviously I didn't. Yesterday I put the blow-off valve on, and I started messing with the wire harness, and I believe I figured out what was wrong with it. So they took the speed sensor wire out. So I unloomed the harness to a certain section, and I realized that there was a plug missing. So I went, found a plug, and noticed that the speed sensor was missing because this is the reverse lockout, and then on the opposite side of that section of the harness is the reverse light switch. So in the middle of that is supposed to be a speed sensor. I noticed that all these wires were they were still open and they were all wired together. So basically the signal wire was just grounding out against the harness. So the problem that I had before when this harness was in the car was that every time you plug it up into the swap harness, it would pop the alternator fuse underneath the dash. So I put my harness in there and it wouldn't do it. So I said, let me either try to find a new harness or figure out what's wrong with this harness. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this up into the car, plug it into I'm gonna ground it, plug it up to the ECU, well, not the ECU, but the swap harness, and see if it pops the fuse again. Also, I'm going to, well, the customer is supposed to be bringing me his own Honda today, and a new billet shifter box, like one of the eBay ones that I used on Heavy Flow. So I'm going to be installing that. Also, I also am going to be converting the car to E85. I'm putting a speed sensor converter on here, and I'm going to be installing this new radiator and fan, and I'm going to be cutting the hole in the hood for the downpipe and installing the wastegate. And I'm just gonna, once I figure out if the harness is good or not, I'm gonna heat wrap it up, heat wrap the shifter cables. I'm gonna get the customer to get a turbo blanket to keep some of this heat away from it because the fuel filter is kind of close to the manifold and stuff, so I want to get some heat away from all of that. And then we should be well, we're gonna test drive it on the street, make sure it's good, make sure the motor doesn't knock it and take all that. I do need to adjust the valves also, and we're probably going to be tuning the car also. Hook this harness back up, even though it has checking it out right now, but the only thing I did was ground it to the valve cover and hook the starter wire and the alternator wire plugs up, and fuel pump primes, check engine light comes on and off, which some of the sensors aren't hooked up right now anyway, so it should do that. But it's not popping the alternator fuse anymore. Now the only other issue that I have right now is that the starter is not getting signal from the key. So it used to be an auto car. It is converted. This is jumped. I jumped it with a fuse. It's not a blown fuse or anything like that, so it should work. But it's still not starting. So, well, it's still not turning the engine over, I should say. So what I'm probably gonna do is make my own lead from the fuse box to the starter, or we may just put this on the push button. I think he said he wants to put it on a push button, so I might utilize a slot here for the push button, since the car won't have a radio. I don't believe it will have a radio, or it definitely doesn't have the climate control stuff, so I can make something right here, put a push button in it for him. But that wraps up that part of this project. Now I just have to pull the harness back out. I need to heat sleeve some of it because, like I said, it sits directly under the manifold. I'm gonna wrap part of the exhaust also, just to give it a little bit more protection. And gonna plumb the wastegate and the blow off valve, put everything back on. It's supposed to bring me a speed sensor converter. I need to put what the hell are those things called? Cotter pins in this, and once he gets here with his ECU, I should be able to start it. I do need to plug some water, some coolant passages on here, and that should, and then that'll be it for all of that, and then the bumper and everything else.
Over here with this damn harness on. Look at it, making a video.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Making a video on this car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't get too in detail.
Hold on, wait. Too in detail with what?
What video you're doing?
Oh, just a bunch of random stuff. Just knocking it out.
Get it done.
Yeah. Basically like a walkthrough of what I do with cars.
Nice. Nice. So you actually work on cars?
No. From time to time, when I'm not filming for you or doing shenanigans.
Well, so you never get anything done.
Yeah, I really don't. That's why this car's been here for like 9 months.
I was highly offended when BJ was filming at Piedmont, and someone goes, "Oh, glad to see Phil back behind the camera." I was like, "Wow, people, wow."
Alright guys, so I got the O2 sensor bung welded in there. I forgot to mention that I needed to do that. So now I'm gonna just heat wrap the pipe and I'm gonna go ahead and secure it back onto the car. guys, so I'm gonna take this spacer out. I'm using on the hood, cut it out, and pretty much how it'll sit when it's flushed. Customer said that he was happy with it, and he's gonna get a trim ring for it just to make it like a beauty ring, just to make it look a little pop out a little bit better, because he has found one that has like carbon fiber wrap, so come out with a little trailer drop, little choo 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 right here, and then it'll be done. So that's wrapped up for me. Got a little blood on the car from where I damn got snagged by the metal. So now that's done. Repop the hood, take the wire harness back out, heat wrap what I need to heat wrap, put it back in there. It'll be the last time I put it back in there. I need to take the O2 sensor out of the old downpipe, which is stuck inside of my downpipe, so I wouldn't lose it. Put it in his car. I need to wire up his gauges also. Just, you know, touching up everything that needs to get done with the car. Also got to extend his coolant temp sensor wire out here for his gauge, so he'll have proper gauge temp. So let me go ahead and start taking the wire harness back out, heat wrap it, and then put it back in. Putting the wire harness back on the car, and upon further inspection, these dummies, whoever owned this car before him, cut the harness up even more, and they took the TPS wire out and looped it together and stuck it in the harness. Probably more reasons why it kept blowing fuses. So I'm gonna find a plug for this, get that fixed, and then continue putting the wire harness back on the car. Alright guys, so I'm about to wrap this video up. I pretty much got everything done that I needed to, that I could today, I should say. I just have to put his billet box in the car. He brought it to me in his K-Pro. I just have to put his billet box in the car, wire his gauges in, and put a push button in there, because right now I have to pretty much ghetto start the car with just this wire right here. But I'm gonna start it for you. I just started it up. I did have to fix the crankshaft wire, because it wasn't getting any signal to the ECU. So all I did was just did a jumper wire from the crank signal, from the crank sensor to the ECU. So let me go ahead and start it up now. Starts up, sounds pretty good. Sounds good. Yep. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Remember to comment, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next upload. What we got going on over here? What happened to your turbos, bro?
They're all on the ground over there.
You still gonna put them in the grill?
Not now. Not. I want to make it the streetcar takeover. So.
What's the difference between putting them in the grill and making streetcar takeover? And
Less fab.